a lot of your friends, they'll support you and they want you to win. They just don't want you to win more than they're winning.
Yeah.
Well, first they'll judge you, then they'll criticize and hate you. And then when you become super, super, super successful and they see you on the TV all the time and the newspapers, then they'll say, I always believed in him. Hey, can we have a coffee?
Them up, yeah.
So I thought, well, if they're going to talk about me, at least let me get paid.
Of course.
So my grandma and my granddad, my dad's parents, when I was like 19, 20, they loaned me 15 grand.
Samuel Leeds is one of Britain's most successful property entrepreneurs. A high-flying investor, a best-selling author, and founder of a leading property education company, Samuel is recognised as one of the brightest young stars in British business. Following his meteoric rise to success...
So as an employee, you've got to ask yourself, if you worked as hard on your own business as you do at the moment for your employer on your job, how rich would you be? Probably very rich.
By becoming a multi-millionaire in his 20s, Samuel is in the elite echelons of UK property investors.
Hello Samuel, how are you? Really, really nice to be in your house. It's been amazing. Beautiful home, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks for welcoming here. So, so it's just before we start the podcast, basically, I'd like to ask you, what is your contact from your earlier age? Because men are made, or someone is made based on their childhood, how they've grown up. Could you take us back a little bit of how you actually started?
Yeah, I never thought as a kid I'd end up being a multi-millionaire, that's for sure. I was not very good academically. I think in school they teach you to either go down the academic route, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, go to uni, or get a job as a labourer, use your hands, you know. So I just thought I'm probably going to be a dustbin man or something. And then when I left school, I was working for my dad. My dad was an entertainer. He was doing like discos, children's magic parties, working on market stands, selling stuff. I was getting paid £25 a day. And I remember just thinking, you know what, I really want more, you know, for my life. Didn't have any money, didn't have a rich family. I ended up reading books on like the power of the internet and realising there was a whole nother world. And that's kind of what opened my eyes up to business.
Right, okay. So at your childhood then, I know we've been told to go to school, maybe start nursery, but what really triggers you to think about, maybe I am an entrepreneur? Because people may think you're a property investor, but I know you are an entrepreneur. So what at that childhood, what was your influence to allow you to kind of look at this way of doing things?
Yeah, well, I did a lot of paper rounds as a kid. And I remember, even when I felt like I was terrible in school, I used to go, on the way back from school, I used to have a little Bradford and Bingley little bank slip where I'd go and put money in because I'd sell stuff at school and do paper rounds and whatnot. And I had a little bit of money, not a lot of money. I think when I was about 13, 14, I had like maybe £1,000. And I was just obsessed with just growing this as much as it could go as a kid, just for fun. And I remember one of my school teachers, and I remember showing her my Bradford, I went, hey, look at this. And she said, that's more money than I've got. And that kind of gave me self-esteem because it made me think, I am good at something. I might not be very good in class. I might not be very good at lots of subjects, but hey, I got more money than my teacher. So that was, I guess, you know, the first, okay, maybe I'm good at making money. You know, maybe I can be an entrepreneur.
Wow, that is a very good way of thinking about it, because even me when I was young, like I used to save money. Anyone who throws a penny or coin around, I put it in a box, keep it so I can buy stuff.
Dude, I used to, you know when they throw 2 pences in the wishing wells? I'll be that guy taking them all out.
Same here, taking them up and then I save it. I like to watch it grow. So as soon as it grows, I go to the bank, change it all to paper money. So I really relate to that. So about the influence, how has your mother and your father influenced you to be the person you are today?
So my parents were both, I guess you could say, entrepreneurs. My dad worked for himself. He had his own business. He didn't have, you know, lots of members of staff in an office, but he was a hustler. You know, growing up, my dad was a gardener. He used to cut grass and stuff like that. Then he was doing magic shows. He's selling network marketing, health and nutrition. And so my dad's always kind of had that. My mum, growing up, was a mobile hairdresser. And I think that they definitely were a positive influence on me in terms of thinking outside the box. And my mum was and my dad were one of those people, you know, when you get in trouble with your teachers. I'd get home and I'd be like, or I'd have a bad report, and they'd always take my side. They'd
really?
always, yeah.
Lucky then.
Yeah, probably not like, they wouldn't, they'd just be like, don't worry. They definitely saw something in me. Yeah. My parents split up when I was 7, so I had kind of 2 different, things going on. But no, my dad was pretty hard on me at times, but they were definitely outside the box, and I definitely have to credit my parents. They didn't give me any money, but they did give me, the ability to think outside the box.
So I guess watching your dad having different sort of businesses, and your mom being a mobile hairdresser, for example, I think probably, is that not what makes you understand the value of money as well? Knowing that you have to work in order to earn whatever you earn?
100%. And my dad used to sell me stuff. Because he'd sell stuff on the market stalls. Right? He'd sell like magic tricks and different things because he was a magician. And then he'd say to me, if you want to buy stuff from me, and then you can sell it and make a profit. So he'd sell stuff to me. So I understood money as a kid, 100%. Absolutely understood money. Wow. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't think I would be super successful, but I understood how to hustle and how to make a living, even as a kid.
Right. Some people would say, okay, my dad is a business person, my mom is a hairdresser. They're not kind of that poor. Why should I worry about doing my own thing? So what was that trigger point to say, I know you started your paper round, your dad doing something with you, but what gives you that motivation to say, you know what, I want to take it to the next level?
Well, when I left school, I had a spiritual experience. I gave my life to Jesus as a teenager. I was like 16, 17, and got plugged into a local church. And my church wanted to send me out on trips to different parts of the world. I ended up, even as a teenager, they sent me out to Poza Blanco in north of Spain. I was working in a drug rehab centre, helping people that were trying to get off drugs. Then I went to Ludhiana, which is in Punjab, India, and I was working in orphanages, and it was an incredible experience. I went to, even as a teenager, I spent a month in Zambia, working in a school called Chengelo School Makushi, and after that went to different villages, and I met some of the poorest people, the poorest of the poor. I went out to make an impact, but I came back different myself. And I thought, you know what? You can't help poor people when you're a poor person yourself. No. So I didn't have any money or anything, but I thought, man, that kind of made me think money is not just about material things, it's about making a difference. And money is also about just having time and choices. So I realized that working, even if you think you have a business, actually, sometimes people that say they own a business, actually they own a job.
Yeah.
Right? So my parents, okay, we're business people, cool. Maybe you are entrepreneurs, but unless a business can function without you in it, then it's really a job. So, that was kind of when I started studying, reading books on business. I was interested. I wanted to have freedom. I wanted to have time. And I kind of moved into the realm of business. I joined Business Networking International. I was just a kid. I was a teenager. I joined Business Network International, I joined PIN meetings, I started going to business networking events, and then, met mentors and trainers, and, just threw myself in that world.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for sharing that with us. You talked a lot about your grandma, right? How has she influenced you to be who you are? Because I know she played a pivotal role.
Massive. Both my grandparents. So my mom's parents, my grandma and granddad, they really supported me, even as a kid. My granddad, my mom's dad, he gave me my very first business lesson. Because I was so bad in school, he was like, let me run a business, because he could see I was interested in business. He didn't know loads about business, but he was like, Samuel's interested in business. So when I was like a teenager, like 13, 14, he sat me down and said, let me run a business lesson with you to try and make me feel more positive about academic and learning. So, massive love to my mom's parents. My grandparents sadly passed away a couple of months ago. They both passed. Yeah, they both passed a couple months. Well, maybe last month actually. They both passed within a couple of weeks of each other. My other grandparents, my dad's parents, again, massively influential in my life. My grandma actually, when I was trying to get a deal secured, I think it was like my second or third deal. I was only a teenager. I was like 19. I needed like 15 grand. And I was trying to raise it from all these property networking events. And everyone was just like, not interested. I felt like a leper.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like a teenager trying to raise money. Everyone's like, nah. And even though the deal was good, I had good contracts. And I remember, I was like literally 2 days away from having to get the deal financed. Otherwise, it would fall through. And I was like embarrassed and I felt like giving up. And then I was telling my grandma, this situation and there's this. And then my grandma looked over at my granddad and I was like, I could tell from the way they looked at each other that they had the money.
Yeah.
It's only 15,000. And I was thinking, damn, sometimes things are right under your nose.
You don't realize it.
And you don't realize it. So many people are trying to raise finance and they'll go to networking events. But hang on, what about your family? Yeah. So my grandma and my granddad, my dad's parents, when I was like 19, 20, they loaned me 15 grand.
Wow, bless you.
And that was a loan. It wasn't a gift.
Yeah.
They wanted interest, of course. So I agreed to pay them 10% a year for 5 years.
Okay.
And at the end of the 5 years, when I went to pay them back, I was like really grateful that they lent me the money. Obviously, at this point, I was doing really well. I think I was actually I was a property millionaire.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a £1 million portfolio, so I was doing well. Mm-hmm. And then I met with them and I said, hey, thank you so much for lending me the 15 grand. I said, give me your bank details, I'll send it back. And they were like, well, we don't want it back.
Okay.
And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we, every time you've been paying us £1,500 a year, we've been using that money to go on a cruise.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like a free cruise. So keep it for another year. So the interesting thing is, in business, sometimes people are trying to sponge off their parents or off their family or off their... But the key is, when you can demonstrate that you are actually a person of value. Yeah. See, I helped my grandparents. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they helped me.
Of course.
More than I helped them.
Yeah.
But this is creating a business win-win situation. This is not saying, oh, can you support me? Can you give me some money to start my business? This is saying, I'm starting anyway, with or without anyone standing by my side. I'm going to be valuable. I'm going to push hard. I'm going to show people my results. If my grandma hadn't seen that I'd already done a couple of deals successfully, she probably would never have invested. Yeah. But because she'd seen, okay, he's done a couple of deals, he's doing okay, he's making money, she then invests. So, and again, I never claim to be somebody who is a self-made person, because I don't believe in self-made. I believe that everybody is where they are as a result of people that believed in them.
Correct.
Imparted knowledge, wisdom, invested something, whether it be time. My granddad, my mum's granddad, gave me some of his time. Yeah. And then my grandma, my dad's parents, they gave me a little bit of money. And it's like a seed, right? They planted a small seed. And now it's like, what am I going to do with that seed? Am I going to water the seed? Am I going to grow a tree? Or am I, now I've had a lot of, I've had a lot of good people around me. And one of the reasons that I now feel compelled to support people even like you, was because people supported me.
Correct, yeah.
And people believed in me. So now I want to support and believe in other people that maybe weren't good in school or maybe otherwise wouldn't necessarily be successful. So yeah, I
like that. I like that, Coach, and I do relate to that. When I started my property investment journey, I remember you saying, it used to be my little secret. I don't want my family members to know about it. I don't want anybody to know about it. And I remember you saying something: if you don't tell people who you are, how are they going to get to know what you're doing? So in my tradition, they always tell you need to hide, don't let people know what you're doing, because they want to protect you, kind of. But since I let go of that, letting everybody know what I do, the world opens to me. I have people ringing, calling, saying, I want to do joint venture partnership with you. And I remember recently, one of my investors worked with me. He said, oh, Rahim, I want to get into properties, but I haven't got money. I said, okay, let's look at what we can do about what you have. He started thinking about different avenues of raising that money. I said, have you thought about your dad? Have you thought about your mom? He goes like, oh, they don't have money. Don't worry about it. I said, listen, when you're having dinner, present that deal to them. It's a no money down deal, no money left in deal. Yeah. Present it to them and see what they say. No, they haven't got money. He was literally crying against them. So he did what I've advised him to do. Sat down on a dinner table, said, Dad, I've got this deal. I need £50,000, but I haven't got any money. The dad's okay. I don't have the £15,000 clearly, but I can give you £10,000. Go to your uncle may be able to help you that. Go to your aunties, they'll be able to raise that money. So that guy was able to raise over 50,000 by just looking within the family
100%.
that he thought was poor.
100%.
Right, so I like that idea when you looked in within your family to be able to raise that, because at the beginning, they're the only people who trust you, basically, especially if you haven't got that history of investment. So I really, really relate to that. Thanks for sharing that with us. So looking back then, who you are today is a consequential to your response to your pastor, who talked down on you when you started your property investment journey, saying probably in business investment is not really a thing if you want to go into the religion, if you want to get into deep into a religion kind of thing. So how were you able? How was that become a consequential to get you to where you want to go today?
Yeah, it's actually slight correction.
Okay.
My church and my pastor and everybody actually supported me.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
And when I started business, they all said, "Yeah, great, awesome." When I started getting problems, was when I started being successful. And that's what I think you'll find. You'll find that a lot of your friends, they'll support you and they want you to win. They just don't want you to win more than they're winning.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, in the church, there's a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, it's greedy, you've got too many houses," you know, but I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. Who sets the bar? Do you set the bar? Are you fine making £3,000 a month? Living in a nice semi-detached house with a garden and 3 bedrooms? That's okay, that's not greedy. Yeah. Even when there's people with nothing across the world, that's fine. But me, I'm too successful. Basically, anyone that's more successful than you have a problem with.
Yeah.
And, you know, I grappled with this as a Christian, and I ended up spending 3 years going to Bible college. I studied biblical economics and came to the conclusion that actually it's not what you have, it's what's got you.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of money, but you hold it with open hands and a generous heart and use that as a tool to help people, then go get as much as you can. Yeah. And it's also about how you make it. How are you making your money? Are you making your money ethically by actually giving people a good product, affordable homes and a service, or are you making your money by being ruthless? Yeah. And, you know, I'd like to think I'm not perfect, but the money that I have made and continue to make is by actually giving people great products, great services, great accommodation, by taking houses that are run down and turning them into family homes, by taking rundown factories that are good for nothing and turning them into affordable housing for lots and lots of people. Yeah. And you know, then when I make money, I'll give generously, and you know, we've got the foundation, which we do a lot of good work. Yeah. And ultimately, I think as a Christian, God looks at your heart. You know,
of course,
it's not about. He doesn't look at your pocket; he looks at your heart.
So, do you then feel distance with those people who are kind of a bit envy, or I would say jealous of you growing more than they did? Are they still in contact with you, or do they just kept away from you because they think they're not kind of the same sort of person as you are?
Well, first they'll judge you, then they'll criticize and hate you, and then when you become super, super, super successful and they see you on the TV all the time and the newspapers, then they'll say, "I always believed in him. Hey, can we have a coffee?" Yeah. And that's when you've got to remember to get better and not bitter. Yeah. So a few people I've reconnected with and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's important to look at those that stood with you through the beginning. There are certain people in my life that stood with me at the beginning, and those are the people now that I'll have as my inner circle.
Wow, brilliant! Thank you so much for that. What role? I know you've been traveling when you're doing your Christian thing, going to different countries and all that sort of thing. What does lack of money in those areas, looking at how they were living, shape your view about money?
Well, I think that, I mean, listen, there's no, you can't just throw money at everything. Sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's about education and all kinds of stuff. And also, you can't go somewhere where they've got a different culture and a whole different way of life. You know this. You're from what, Sierra Leone?
Yeah, Guinea, Sierra Leone.
Okay, so like for example, I was in Uganda a few months ago, and I was working in quite a lot of schools, and there was, you know, a lot of need in these schools, and there were some charities that donated to one school 27 computers, which is a really kind thing to do. However, there's no electricity.
What's the point?
The head teacher doesn't know how to work a computer.
Yeah.
They had been sat there, these computers, for 7 years.
Wow.
Just completely unused. So it's like, you can't just throw money at stuff.
No.
You know, so, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff in England to try and help and give back and make the world. I mean, ultimately, you know, I think everyone's goal is to leave the world a little bit of a better place than you found it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, my wife is from Zimbabwe. We're going to Zimbabwe actually in April.
Wow.
In Uganda, we just finished building a school. So we built a school for.
I'm going to ask you about that. I've got that question.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, no, it's an incredible story.
Yeah, I would love to hear that story. Definitely.
But it's amazing how much you can do with not that much money.
Yeah.
You know, just £1,000, you can build a toilet.
Yeah, of course.
Where there's a school of 1,000 people where the girls don't have a toilet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like you can do an awful lot with a little bit if you know how and where.
Brilliant.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about education, right? Mm-hmm. And how about school? And how is school like for you growing up?
Well, school was terrible for me growing up. I was useless at school. I sat on a special needs desk.
Wow.
Literally, I've got ADHD, I've got dyslexia. I didn't like school. I was always suspended, verging on being expelled. Didn't enjoy it. Wasn't popular. Wasn't particularly liked. It's just naff.
Right. Okay.
Never flunked out. Didn't even take most of my exams.
Wow.
Didn't even bother. I only did 3 exams and that was it.
Wow. Brilliant. Okay. Thanks for answering that question. Were you bullied at school?
No, I wasn't bullied.
Okay, good. Some people say traditional education is dead and redundant. What is your viewpoint on that?
I don't think it's dead. It depends on what you want to do, right? If you want to be a doctor, you have to go to uni.
Yeah.
And you have to take the qualifications to learn to be a doctor.
Yeah.
That's traditional education. If you want to be a lawyer, you've got to go to law school.
Yeah.
There's a place for traditional education. Yeah. Jim Rohn says that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune.
Absolutely.
So it depends on what you want. If you want to be a business person, then in my opinion, traditional education is not going to help you get there. If you want to become a property investor tycoon and own a load of houses and make a load of money and hire a load of people, I just don't think. Everything about university and traditional education is all around teaching you how to be a good employee.
Yeah.
Teaching you how to go get a job. Even if you go and study business, the whole mentality of it. So for me, would I recommend it? If you want to be a business owner, no.
Yeah.
Want to be a property investor? No. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to be an electrician, you've got to go to college and learn to do electrics.
Yeah.
So it's all about the end goal. But the problem is a lot of kids go to uni and they don't even know what they want to do. They'll just follow their friends. They'll just think, oh, I've got a few years to fill some time, and they'll just pick a subject. Whereas actually, if you use those years to thinking, I'm going to become financially literate and financially free, and you spend 3-4 years working hard on finances and financial independence, damn. Then you probably don't even need the job, which is the carrot at the end of uni. You don't even need it. The carrot is redundant.
Yeah, because it gives you better return on your investment. I'm one of the proof of it. I've got over £30,000 in debt going to a university only to land myself a £20,000 job. My first job was £17,500. I was thinking, someone who works at McDonald's earn more than I do. I spend about £30,000 per uni not getting me. I understand your point. If you're looking to be a doctor or things like that, maybe it is good for you. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, as you've just said, you don't really need an education because it trains you to become an employee. Maybe you need a coach or mentor who's done what you want to do or is currently doing what you're doing to kind of take you to where you want to go.
100%. Find someone that's actually done what you want to do. And then that's how you're going to get results.
Brilliant. So I know you're doing a lot in Africa. I commend you for that. So I really, that's what draws me to you as well the first time I met you. And I know you're building a school in Africa. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of stuff in Uganda. I mean, loads of stuff in Uganda. Business workshops, business loans, water tanks, boreholes. But one of the big needs that I saw when I was there was the financial education in the schools. And also there's a lot of schools where there's no building. So the pupils will literally just meet under a tree. Yeah. And then if it rains, it's obviously day over. And a lot of people don't send their kids because dusty floor, no building. So what we did was we found an existing school with around 600 pupils, and we built a big main school hall building for them, which has meant that the obviously the school runs better, but also the pupils have gone from 600 to 2,000.
Wow.
So it's like more than doubled the attendance of the school, and we're working with the Ugandan government, and they've agreed that we can have an influence on the curriculum so that the children can have financial education in the curriculum, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
We're building another school at the moment as well in Uganda. Good. We're also building a hospital ward in Uganda as well. So there's a lot going on, and it's stuff that I don't post about every day on social media, but it's stuff that's very close to my heart.
Brilliant. But I know you said your wife, Amanda, is from Zimbabwe. Why not Zimbabwe?
I mean, listen, we've been to many different countries and done a lot of different stuff. Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia. Zimbabwe is an interesting place. The government aren't quite so friendly. Okay. So we like to go in and we work with the local councils, the chiefs, the government, and get approval of everything that we're doing and make sure that there's sustainability there. And in Zimbabwe, with some of the history and things like that, it's a little bit more challenging, and also, there's a few political reasons, but I'd love to do stuff in Zimbabwe. My wife is very keen to do things in Zimbabwe, and we are looking at investing in Zimbabwe as well. But again, even that's difficult because, I don't want to get political, but it's just difficult. The way that the government can act and just take land off people, and it's a little bit tricky. Brilliant. Sticky. It's a sticky one.
But well done for doing that. You're getting lots of blessings from it as well. I know you're not doing it to show off because you don't share a lot about that. But for us who know you deep inside, we know you are doing really, really well. And thank you for
it's good. And there's also places like Ghana, for example. It's like Ghana's just absolutely ripe for investment. I'm investing at the moment in an apartment block in Ghana, and but whereas Zimbabwe, it's so difficult. Yeah. Like you've got to be. Even Uganda's difficult because you've got to be a citizen to invest there. And so every country is just different, and the needs are different, the opportunities are different. Africa as a continent is something that's close to my heart, and I've been to 11 different countries in the continent of Africa in the last 12 years.
Oh, bless you. At the age of 18, you started your property investment.
17, yeah.
17.
Yeah.
What was the reason to start properties? Because your dad was doing something completely different to properties and your mom was doing something completely different. But why did you actually choose property?
It was actually, I went to a property business networking event and it just grabbed me. The fact that with property, it was more the passive income aspect of being able to buy a house or own a house or control a house. And then the rent just comes in every month. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. I liked Monopoly as a kid, and I thought maybe I can do this in real life. Also, I noticed that all the rich people were investing in property. If you look on the Sunday Times rich list, they're all in property pretty much, some way or another. And I thought, well, looking at what my dad's doing, which is great. He's making a living, doing gardening and doing his entertainment. And my mum, mobile hairdresser, cool. But that's never going to make me rich. Yeah. I'm never going to be able to scale that and make millions of pounds. Whereas property, I think I can. So I really just chose what I thought was the best business, and thought, if I master that, if I get good at that, if I get really good at hairdressing, maybe I can have a salon. If I get really good at this or building, but if I get really good at property investment, I'm gonna get rich. Yeah. And I did. I got very rich.
Absolutely. So I really commend you for that. You're doing absolutely amazing on that. Congratulations in buying a massive stake in Property Tribes.
Thank you.
Why?
Property Tribes is the largest landlord online community in the UK. 65,000 landlords on there, all from the UK. And I thought it was a great platform, but it needed a lot of improvement. It's quite a toxic place. There's been a lot of racism on there. They spoke about me a lot on there. In fact, most of their most widely viewed threads were about me. And a lot weren't that positive.
I know, I picked some of them up. Yeah.
So I thought, well, if they're going to talk about me, at least let me get paid.
Of course.
At least let me get paid. So, no, I'm a person of significant control at Property Tribes, and I own 35%.
Okay.
I'm a 35% shareholder.
Well done. So I know you've bought that share. Maybe it's not for the money. I'm pretty sure you didn't do it just for the money. You did it to kind of eradicate that racism sort of thing within the platform itself. And I believe you will do a lot from joining that platform.
Yeah.
So do you have any plans to kind of help the team kind of adjust the way they see other people?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of stuff on there around basically discriminating against tenants, you know, and I think my sister is white, but she's a single mom, and I was trying to get my sister a house. She wanted to come and live near me, from the Peak District down to Buckinghamshire, and I was speaking to letting agents, and I was saying, hey, I'm looking for a property, and this is what I'm after, and they'd say no problem, and then I'd go and view it, I'd bring my sister, and they'd say, who's the property for then? And they kept closing the door on us, and one letting agent actually gave the reason and said, we don't rent to single moms.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I said, what do you don't rent to single moms? She said, oh yeah, she said, we've been told by my managers that if you're a single mom, maybe if the mom's ill and then the kids can't go to school and it's just difficult, so we're not looking for single moms. And for me, that really annoyed me because I thought, well, it's not my sister's fault that her husband left her 3 weeks prior. That's why she wanted to move, because she's on her own, she's been left. And it kind of made me really angry. And then when I saw on Property Tribes the same stuff going on, but because people were of a certain race, I thought, that's even worse. Because you can't change the colour of your skin. If you're black or brown or whatever, or you happen to be from India, and there's landlords saying, how can we legally say no because of their nationality?
Asking that question on the platform as well.
Asking that. And then having people like Vanessa Warwick, who is a community manager at Property Tribes and an advisor on the property redress scheme, giving advice. You don't have to give them the reason, blah, blah, blah.
Really? That's crazy.
And I was like, damn. So I bought Property Tribes 35% and did a video about that specifically. And Vanessa Warwick then stepped down from the property redress scheme as an advisor, which I thought was good. No, I mean, listen, I'm not into being a victim, and obviously I'm a white person myself, but seeing that, I mean, my wife is black, and I've got a lot of ethnic minority students, and seeing that, I just thought, if I don't speak up, if I don't say anything, then who will?
Yeah, you're right.
So I use my platform and use my voice to say something, but also try and bring change.
Yeah.
You know.
So that is very good. When you share that online, I commented on that thread myself because I faced it. You know, I'm a real proof to you then, because when I started my property investment journey, I was going to different viewings. They were not giving me the properties, right? I hit all the boxes and all that sort of thing. But again, how I realized it was a race thing is when I met a landlord who told me, I'm not going to rent your property because you are black. He literally told me, right?
Shocking.
But he did not tell me at that point, right? He told me when I insisted on him, right? I never gave up. I said, I want to know why no, right? And then when I took his property, he came back to me and told me, listen, the reason why I didn't want to give you my property is because one, you were black, and secondly, I had a different perspective about that, right? Then what I did basically is to prove him wrong, right? Then I followed him for about 13 or 14 months to get one of his properties on a rent-to-rent deal. And when I took his property, he realized he had the wrong perception, right? And I was able then to take over 7 of his properties.
Oh, wow.
Right? From that point. And today he called me his nephew or whatever way he called me. And then really recently I borrowed him some money as well. So that then changes perspective.
Yeah.
Some people will run away from it. But it's important for you to face it so that you can kind of change that person's mindset. So in his eyes now, he saw black people in a different way. And the funny thing is also, he's from Bangladesh. He's a black person himself. But because he's been framed up that way, he was thinking that way. So I really was kind of delighted you sharing that with us on the platforms, because you've got lots of followers, lots of people that believe in what you're saying, which helped a lot to kind of promote that people to see everybody equally. We are all the same in whatever way we do.
100%.
I know you invest in lots of business adventures, but why property is your main source of income, if I may?
Because I think property is the best and the most stable. If I've got a lot of investments in businesses, but it's possible that those businesses, if I invest in a business, that business could collapse and be worth nothing. Yeah. Whereas if I invest in a house, even if it collapses, the land still holds its value. Yeah. Even if the house burns down, I've still got the land, which is actually the majority of the value. So the fact that it is so difficult to be taken off of you, the fact that you can rent it out and there is such a shortage of it, it's just a brilliant business and brilliant investment. And of course, being able to afford affordable homes for people, and you know, one of the things that we do is we build a lot of houses as well. So we're not just buying up houses and buying up streets, and taking away from first-time buyers and pushing the prices up. We're actually building houses and buying run-down homes that have been abandoned for decades and restoring them, and buying commercial properties that are eyesores and public nuisances and converting them into apartments to provide affordable homes and serviced apartments. And so I think I'm getting rich, but I really do believe that I'm making a difference into the economy positively as opposed to negatively, which is important as well. When you start making, I pay myself a salary. So no matter how much money my business makes, my salary doesn't change.
Yeah, of course.
So, and I'm making many millions. Yeah. And it gets to a point where you've got to think, rather than just looking at how can I make more millions, you've got to think, actually, how can I, continue to grow my business, continue to get rich, but how can I actually have a business model that is going to leave a legacy and going to make a positive difference in the communities? And I think that for me is really important.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's all about adding value, isn't it? So which is really, really good. You said your wife, Amanda, is your business partner. I know it's difficult to work as a business partner with your wife or husband. How's that going with you?
Brilliant. My business partner is my brother Russell and my wife Amanda, and also Russell's wife Anna, and the four of us run the business. I mean, me and Russell tend to, we're the sort of faces and the aggressive drivers of the business. Yeah. But they say don't work with family, but actually I think that for me it's been a beautiful thing.
Okay, good. So how have you been able to distinguish family life and business?
Everything is all one. So I don't compartmentalize things and say, this is business, this is personal, everything's just life. And my business is a lifestyle. So, me and my wife constantly talk about business. We don't think, right, let's have a break now and not talk about business for an hour. Why? We're happy.
So it becomes one then?
Yeah, it's one.
So suppose you're going on holiday, and do you take probably a day that you can say, Amanda, today no business conversation, let's just be us? You don't have that. You don't do that, right?
No.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
It's not deliberate. Yeah. We might. Listen, when we're on holiday, we're just playing on the beach and going out to restaurants. We're not always talking about business, but we don't feel like we have to say no business, no phones. Nah, it's cool. It's chill, man. I'm constantly. I love business.
Brilliant.
We love it. It's a passion.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I learned that from you as well. When you asked me what do you do for spare time, I said properties. You're like, oh, you have you not have some other stuff you do? I said no. I love properties. So that's good. So you are a multi-millionaire, but why do you want to be more successful?
Because the moment enough is enough and you think you've arrived at the top of the mountain and there's nothing left to achieve or do, you fall miserable and life becomes meaningless and unfulfilled. There has to always be a next goal, a bigger thing, a bigger purpose. So until I die, I always envision myself wanting to grow things to a new level and have new challenges and new targets and continue pushing myself to be the best possible version of myself I can be.
But why do you want to push yourself? You're already successful. You live in an amazing house.
Because what's the fun of saying, I've arrived now? Now what? People think that wouldn't it be lovely to just sit on the beach and do nothing and chill out and have no responsibilities and no stresses. Actually, I think it would drive me mad.
Brilliant. Have you ever worked for people? If so, how have those jobs shaped you to be the person you are today?
I've had a few jobs. My first job ever was I used to clean snooker tables when I was 16. I did that while I was working also for my dad for a bit of extra money. Obviously worked for my dad. Also I worked, after getting into property, I worked as an estate agent for maybe about 5-6 months. And I realised that having a job is really hard. Mm-hmm. It's really difficult being employed. Yeah. People think, oh, being a millionaire is difficult. Well, yeah, it is. It is hard. But so is being poor. Everything's hard. Yeah. So I realised that, you know, sometimes the grass is always greener. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, even when the other day I was out for dinner and I was watching the waitress and she was running around and she looked like she was working really hard. And I thought, she probably works the same hardness as I work. So why am I making more money? It's because I'm not just working hard, I'm also working smart.
Correct.
So as an employee, you've got to ask yourself, if you worked as hard on your own business as you do at the moment for your employer on your job, how rich would you be? Probably very rich.
Absolutely. I like that. At a young age, if someone would have asked you, what was your dream? What would that have been?
To be a dustbin man.
Really? Why dustbin man then?
I didn't have a dream when I was a kid. When I was at school, I didn't have a dream. I just wanted to get by and live life and be happy. Work outside, you know. I didn't have a dream. I'd never envisioned that I would ever be a multimillionaire. And I think that it's nice to just have a dream that's just, you can see it. It's not too far away. And then when you get to it, then set another dream. Yeah. And just keep pushing. Because you don't know where you're going to be in 5-10 years' time. People talk about 10-year goals. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah. Have a month goal. Yeah. Or a year goal at most. Yeah. And then when you smash it out of the park, then set another one. And then another one. And then another one. And then you look down and go, wow, I've climbed high.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you bad at?
What am I bad at? I'm bad at... I don't really know, actually. That's a good question. I don't really think about what I'm bad at. I just focus on what I'm good at. If I'm bad at something, I'll pass it to someone else to do. I mean, I'm not very good at lots of things. I'm not very good, even basic things like I don't know how to tie my own shoelaces still. Tying my shoelaces is a proper chore. So that's why I wear pumps. Yeah. So I don't have to. If I'm bad at something, I just create my life in such a way and maneuver things where I don't have to do it. Or someone else does it.
Brilliant. I like that. So it's about eliminating and automating things that you're not good
exactly.
at. Exactly.
I'm not going to do something if I'm bad at it.
Brilliant. Okay. You've got a property training business.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying it is one of the biggest in the UK?
It is the biggest.
Right. So why did you decide to do property training?
Well, when I left Bible college and I was released from the guilt of earning money, I wrote a book and I wanted to educate people, specifically to begin with within the church, about actually it's okay to make money. And I was helping people. I set up a little company called Training Kings, and it was about helping people that are religious, that have got a desire to start in business, helping them get started. But what I found was very quickly everybody would say, teach me about property, teach me, because that was what I was doing. Mm. So then I ran a one-off event called the Property Investors Crash Course, November 2014. There was about 8 people in attendance. And the impact of that one-day course, I mean, there was a lady there called J.L. Spooner. She was living in hostels. Mm-hmm. She's now a millionaire. Wow. The impact of that one-day course made me feel like I need to do this again. So, you know, it was just, for me, it was a mission. Okay. Yes, I'm successful, but now I want to help as many people become successful as well. If you get to the top of the mountain, there's something enjoyable and fulfilling about pulling other people up. Yeah. And also, most of my best friends now are people that I've trained. Wow. And now they're all my students, and now they're my friends. So, yeah, it's a business, and we have courses and mentorships where there's an investment, but it's more of a mission.
Brilliant, I like that. Why and how you become the best property training business in the UK?
Because people get results.
Okay.
And I think that, I'm not saying that this isn't the case for other property training companies, but I know that when I run a program, the people there in attendance actually get results. And because of that, they then tell their friends and their family, and everybody comes.
Yeah, good. And I am a protege of that as well. So
you sent loads of people down.
I know it is. So property. So great. You've got great reviews, and obviously great results in your property investment crash courses and your advanced programs. What would you say to people who are saying you are a scam?
Well, I would say, if you think that, then don't come.
Okay.
I mean, don't come. People that say that though, that oh, it's a scam, or it's too good to be true, or whatever. They're losers.
Yeah.
So they probably shouldn't come. Mm-hmm. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Not everyone's meant to be a successful property entrepreneur. Not everyone's meant to be a millionaire investor.
Yeah.
If you think it's a scam, then cool. You just continue your job in McDonald's and bring me my burgers. That's it.
Brilliant. I like that answer. Really, really appreciate that. So recession, people are talking about recession. What is your take on what challenges we'll be facing this year and next year?
I think the biggest challenges for property investors is probably not the fact that we're in a recession. It's probably the fact that interest rates have gone up so high.
Yeah.
I mean, base rate was, a year or so ago, 0.1%. Now it's like 4. Gone up by 40 times.
Yeah.
A lot of landlords are selling up.
Yeah.
House prices are dropping. They've dropped 5 months in a row consecutively.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Mm-hmm. I mean, for us as entrepreneurs, there's opportunities there. We're thinking, well, hang on a minute. Could we take on their properties on lease options? And could we rent them as serviced accommodation and push the rent? But that's because we're entrepreneurs. So whenever there's a recession or a crash or a problem in the economy, there's always opportunity. Correct. Most millionaires get rich in recessions.
Yeah.
So quite enjoying the crash.
Okay.
I'm quite enjoying the recession, but on a selfish level.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are struggling. There's also a massive cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
I was looking at the stats just yesterday. In the last 24 months, flights have gone up by 300%.
Yeah.
Energy bills have gone up by 300%. I mean, everything's shooting up in price, but wages are staying the same.
Yeah.
So if you're making $2,000 a month, it doesn't cut it anymore.
No.
You can't. You have to make more money.
Yeah, right. So I know people like Grant Cardone and other investors out there are saying cash is trash. What is your take into that then?
Well, the reason some wealthy people say cash is trash is because the cost of inflation, money loses value. So if you've got $100,000 and you've got it cash under your bed or even in the bank, it's shrinking in value every day. So that's why they say cash is trash. Don't have cash, invest it and create cash flow. So I understand why people say that. I wouldn't say cash is trash. I think it's important to have some cash reserves if you're running a large business. I mean, myself, it costs me £500,000 a month just to run my businesses. Wow. My mortgages, my staff, my buildings, $500,000-600,000 a month.
Wow.
Overheads every month, even if I don't bring any money in. So to have nothing in the bank is probably not smart because then if you've got no reserves. Also, if a good deal comes along, you want to be in a position where you can snap it up.
Yeah.
So right now, I've got about 5 million cash.
Good.
However, when I started out in business, I think you have to go broke.
Yeah.
People that say to me, I've got 10 grand, and they're holding on to it it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You're already broke. You may as well go official.
Yeah.
Because they're acting like safety blanket. No. Sometimes if you've got nothing to lose, you can be more dangerous in the marketplace.
Cool. Yeah.
But then if you've got staff and responsibilities and businesses and overheads, you've got to have. So I think it's a balance, right, between having. The biggest thing you want is you want cash flow and you want a high net worth and you want assets. But a bit of cash in the bank never hurt anyone.
Yeah, I know. Especially with the recession is literally, some people say it's happening, some people say it's going to be on its way. Having cash, as you said, it gives you an advantage to snap.
It does. It depends how you got that cash. Yeah. If you're trying to get cash by working hard, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because then you're a slave. You don't, as Robert Kiyosaki says, don't work hard for money, make money work hard for you.
Yeah.
But my cash has come as a result of, building houses, getting planning permission on land and flipping it, and the cash is there. Mm-hmm. And I'm not in a hurry to try and invest it.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to invest is to be slow, patient, and picky. Mm-hmm. So just wait.
Yeah.
And you wait, and then, okay, that looks good. No, okay. Mm-hmm. And then you wait, and then when something really good comes up, bang!
That's it.
That's how you're a good investor. Yeah. Not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is different. As an investor, that's how you got to be.
Brilliant. I like that answer. If someone had £10,000, okay, extra cash lying in the bank, and they want to invest it somewhere, what would you suggest?
If you've got 10 grand and you want to invest it, I would probably suggest setting up a small portfolio of rent-to-rents.
Okay.
Because a bit like what you did. Because I think that 10 grand is not going to get you very far in buy-to-let.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do? Buy a 40 grand house? You wouldn't even get a mortgage. It'd be so cheap. Yeah. And then rent it for 300 quid a month. Mm-hmm. And then you're left with 50 quid a month. 10 grand is so small. If you've got 10 grand, but if you invest it into rent-to-rents, controlling property, then you could make 3 grand a month. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, the first thing is to create enough income from property that you can become full-time in property, and then when you're full-time in property, then the fun starts.
Yeah, good. So you have wonderful imagination. You recently interviewed people in the street. How have you been able to attract more people to you?
How have I been able to attract more people to me? Yeah. Again, I think it's just word of mouth and being good at what you do and being consistent. And if I'm doing things or I'm putting a video out and it doesn't get much interaction, I don't beat myself up. I just move on to the next. If I put a video out or do something that gets loads of interaction, I don't stop and pat myself on the back. I put out the next thing. Just being consistent and continually putting out good content. And actually helping people and not just thinking about making the money, but also thinking about building your reputation and your brand. It's very important.
Wow, I like that because I like the imagination. You tend to do things that people can even think about.
Right.
Like interview people on the street. I was thinking, when I saw that video, I was like, what is he on about? Is it really actually going to do it?
Yeah.
So I sat down and watched. I was like, wow, that is a very creative imagination for you to do that. And that just don't attract people. It also shows how valuable one can be, right? How not just to paint everybody the same brush. You sat in that street, I don't know, I think it's somewhere in London. You were able to attract talented people. And by looking at that video, I realized you've hired about a couple of people from there, or no? Yeah.
One person.
So how's that going?
It's good. Ruben, he's a good boy and he's very excited and yeah.
Brilliant.
He's a good hire.
Brilliant. Investment. I know you invest mainly in the UK, but recently I've seen you diversify in Africa,
all over the world,
Asia.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's diversification. I think that, and there's also some banging opportunities. Like I mentioned Ghana, you can make serious money in Ghana, and also in the Caribbean. I was investing in St. Lucia and America. We've got deals now going on across Europe. It's exciting. And I think that diversifying is good. If you've got 50 million invested in the UK, why would you not then start investing in other countries? Why would you continue just, So yeah, I want to diversify a little bit.
So in that sense, then I know some African countries don't have things that we have here in the UK, like mortgages and all that sort of thing. One would think, if you're for example, the apartment or the apartment block you're building in Ghana. People will be thinking, how is he raising that funds? Is he putting all his cash in, or how have you been able to fund that deal?
Yeah, so most of the deals that I'm doing overseas, a lot of them are joint ventures.
Good.
Where I'm partnering with other people, so that there's like people on the ground, even in Caribbean. I'm not just buying land and building and trying to manage it all myself. I'm doing that as a partnership.
Good.
So I'm going 50-50 with somebody that lives there. But yeah, every country is different. You've got to just figure out the rules and find the best strategy. But ultimately, if you know how to invest in the UK, you can invest anywhere, because property investment is property investment. A good deal is a good deal.
Absolutely. If I ask your employees what Samuel is like to work with,
Yeah.
What do you think they would say about you?
Direct, impulsive, loud, to the point, action, hardworking, demanding, and fun.
Wow. Brilliant.
I would hazard a guess.
You seems to be working 24 hours, 7 days a week. Do you really relax or you feel relaxing is waste of your time?
No, it's not a waste of time. I sleep well. I get 8 hours of sleep every night. I sleep like a baby. God really blessed me with being able to just sleep well. And I also take Sundays off with the family, where I'll relax. But yeah, I work hard. I don't count the hours, but I enjoy what I do. And that someone once said, if you love what you do, then you'll never work a day again in your life.
Absolutely. What did you learn from your greatest failure?
I don't know, actually. That's a good question. My greatest failure. I mean, my life has been pretty successful. Can't say I've had any massive failures in my life. Maybe ask me in another 10 years and we'll find out.
Okay. So if someone is starting properties right now, people are worried about recession, worried about what's going to happen. What would be your best advice?
My best advice would be to, James Caan says this, he says, observe the masses and do the opposite. Yeah. When everyone on social media is saying, I'm going to wait it out, then you get in. Warren Buffett said, when everyone's greedy, you should be scared, and when everyone's scared, you should be greedy. So you've got to kind of go the opposite on what the media is saying as well. If the media are talking about, then the media right now are talking about how now's, scary times and houses are crashing. Now's the time to get in. No. As long as you buy the right deal, the harvest is ripe.
Absolutely. Right. I know you've been very successful in all the avenues you're doing, especially property. Do you have do you have mentors and coaches that coach yourself?
Still do today, many.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Your enthusiasm and your energy is what draws me to you. When I first met you, what really keeps you going without losing your energy?
I just have goals. You've got to have a drive. You've got to have a reason for wanting to do something. And I think, I'm just a motivated person, motivated to achieve, motivated to win, competing with myself. And yeah, I've got a lot of energy. I work hard. I think I was born with it. I was born with the fire. If you've not got the fire, then there's a problem. Yeah. If someone comes to me and they're not motivated and they've got no passion and no oomph and no goal and no aspiration, I can't help that person. Yeah. If someone comes to me and they say, I'm really motivated, I'm really ready, I've got a fire that burns, even if they've got no money, no knowledge, no experience, it doesn't matter because they've got the fire. Yeah. And I've got the fire.
Absolutely. You talked about hard times. I'm definitely inspired by someone who overcome hard times. Do you mind sharing a time or event that was really, really hard time for you and how you were able to overcome it?
I don't really, I can't really think, to be perfectly honest, because I come across hard things every day, and to me it's just, that's what entrepreneurs do, right? Find problems and solve them, and it's fun. It's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. Yeah. I mean, lockdown was hard. Yeah. That was difficult. But I don't even see it as, oh, this is hard, this is a struggle. I've never once in my entire life as a businessman complained that this is difficult, I'm struggling. Mm-hmm. Never once. So I don't really know the answer.
Right, thank you. Quick fire round questions, very brief, if you may. What was the worst advice you remember receiving?
Worst advice, save up money and put it in the bank and be frugal.
Best advice you remember receiving?
Best advice, Richard Branson, screw it, let's do it.
Wow. Your biggest regret?
I don't really have any regrets.
Who is your favourite sports star?
Favourite sports star? I have no clue about any sports. I don't know.
Okay, I like that. Is there something you believe that lots of people disagree with you?
Oh yeah, loads. Making £1 million is easy.
What is the best book you've ever read or listened to?
Best book I've ever read? The Richest Man in Babylon.
Wow. Does money change you?
No, it just exposes who you really are.
Does money make you happy?
It helps.
Is there something you used to strongly believe and you recently changed your mind on?
Something that I strongly
believed and you recently changed your mind on?
Damn. I am open to changing my mind, and I do change my mind at times, but I don't think there's been anything major where I've like totally changed my mind or anything that I can think of now.
Is there something in the world you fundamentally think is wrong and you'd like to change?
Loads of stuff. The fact that school doesn't teach financial literacy to kids, I think is a tragedy.
Yeah. Okay. This podcast is called Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. What does Property Investment Blueprint means to you?
It means don't try and reinvent the wheel. Follow the tried and tested fundamental processes that have been proven to work in the industry already.
Brilliant. Final one. If I was to interview any person in my podcast, who would that be and why?
Well, I'd have to say Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate was the person that got me the most views on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So,
good. Okay. Brilliant. What an amazing way to end the podcast. That was an absolute amazing, great.
Good, thank you.
Amazing questions. Thank you. Where should we follow you and where are you hanging out in social media? And obviously you've got your board game out and your one of the books you've wrote. So where can people contact you?
I'm probably most active on Instagram. That's where I hang out. But most of my content is on YouTube. So just search my name, Samuel Leeds.
Okay. Thank you so much for your inspiration. Thank you for being hilarious, humor, and you are the smartest person I've ever interviewed or I've met myself.
Oh, good.
So I really, really appreciate you inviting me to your home to do this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahim. Respect, man.
Thank you.
Love.
That was good.